Hi. So I'm watching on YouTube a lot, and all your countries are pretty fucked up. A lot of flooding, a lot of hurricanes, a lot of destruction, a lot of fire. Fire is now weather to you people. Um, I imagine 1/3 of the ocean life has already been destroyed and disappeared. So he's lost the Lord of the world, and the Lord of the world used to govern shoals of fish and used to tell birds when to migrate and how to migrate. And you'd watch this in David Attenborough videos and think, how does nature know how to do this? Because it had Lord, it had angels, everything, and they're all gone now. The world is fucked. They've all disappeared. So everything's going to start dying and turning to famine and plague soon, or famine and death very soon. And I'm weighing all this up. I'm weighing up all your destruction. I'm weighing up all the flood damage. I'm weighing up all the homeless people in the world, all the houses, all these people that were forced into tents in Syria, and now even their tents are destroyed with snow and flood and destruction. And I'm just looking at all your world governments and I'm adding up. I'm a bit of a mathematician myself. Yous all fucked me over. All right, you might not know about it. All right, it's to do with Derek Rockefeller, a bunch of Sinn Féin mafia from Ireland. They're all the spirit of the Antichrist. Okay, I stole the scroll back in Waterford. There was lots of miracles that happened around me. A bunch of fucking idiots in a caravan that were spying on me, spying on everybody in the neighbourhood, witnessed it all. I was Christian at the time. I was like so loving and fucking open-minded. I love everybody. Yeah, everybody's welcome in my world. They all flooded my temple. Like in the video I made, it's not a physical temple. It's my mind and my orrery, like my star. These star systems now, they realise this. You can go around taking them off everyone. This girl called Aisling Murphy got murdered recently in Ireland. Nobody knows why. I know she had an orrery and she was murdered for her orrery because it's like a heaven. It's like a Hashassin heaven, and all they have to do is just pop one person off or kill a child. And this is why Black Lives Matter in America, because lots of black kids were just disappearing, or lots of young disposable people were just were just disappearing off the streets, and they were for their stars, for star power. This is called conquest, when you realize who has the stars in the world, and the rest of the shitty people in the world conquest all the good people in the world. And then because they're stars systems, now these star systems could contain planets, they could contain planets with lives, and they're all being destroyed. So like just galaxies of life out there that's being destroyed by the activities of you pernicious wankers on Earth. So all my welcome attendants and all my friends and family were in my orrery, and they're now mating with them all the time. They're wanking, and the more they wank, the more closer hereditary or descendancy they have to me, and then they can claim more of this holy fortune that I'm completely unaware about, but I know exists out there. So they're all wanking their way to pernicious, delicacies. It's in Revelations, all the delicacies of Babylon. That's what Babylon is, an overrun Babel. Too many different types of people in one orrery, where it's supposed to be one person's friends, one person's family, and it's like Avalon or something like that. It's what it's meant to be, but they flood it in and it becomes Babylon. And this is the merchants in the temple with Jesus, and this is what we see in Revelations of Babylon. And everyone is very famous and powerful, and everyone has all these delicacies. They have all, and down at the bottom of the list you see a list of gold and mines and things, but men and the souls of men, so they can actually take your life and your name, and then you become a spiritual soldier or a sex slave. After that, they play you through when you die. Like, you all just rest in peace. You won't be able to rest in peace. When you die and you're about to float off away or something, they just intervene and they take you and they snatch you. This causes cancer, by the way, because you're causing spiritual cancer above and it'll cause spiritual cancer below. Because all this this disturbance of the stars is going on, it'll disturb the starlight and everything, and the orchestration of the world, the angels and orchestration of the world, and it'll destroy everything on Earth, and everything on Earth will turn to woe, misery, social discord, breakdown of families, breakdown of government. Like, the amount of destruction and crap that you're tolerating within this equilibrium rather than just working with and helping me. See, John the Baptist was a Levite. He probably was suffering with this massive temple of apocalypse that he was trying to live with. It was the Levite duty to kind of maybe withstand this and persevere this kind of torment. And Jesus saved John. Jesus was a Joseph from the line of Joseph family. They probably didn't get on very well, these two families, but they met up together. They probably solved a lot of history of apocalypse by being friends, but more so to the point that Jesus saved John, this one hobo person, this kind of schizo madman that no one would listen to and no one believed, just like Jeremiah and loads of other prophets before him. They wouldn't listen to him. Babylon took over. And there's this horrible king in the period of Jeremiah called Jehoiakim, and they learned about this because I was reading my Bible one day. Everything that goes through my head, everything. If I walk down the street and you pass by me, you're very vulnerable to become a sex slave to these people because they're constantly in my head all the time. You're watching this video right now, they're going to be in your head telling you to turn off the video, and they're going to be fucking with you. Hi, YouTube staff. You used to work for YouTube. You don't work for YouTube anymore, do you? So I'm just weighing up all this flood damage, all this murder, all this pestilence, all this suicide, and all this everything, and you're just doing all the spirit of Jehoiakim, Antichrist. Jehoiakim was this terrible king. He was a murderous, rapist, killer. He's killing Israelites. He's killing children. He was trying to provoke and anger God, and they're using this name now as a dominance to destroy and torment the spirit of Antichrist, and to prevent me from being helped, and to prevent the tides from turning on the situation. Because when it happened, I kept a low profile. I had absolutely, honestly, like I just knew absolutely everything could do anything, change anything. And the serpent, I just acted calm, plainly, and just nothing's changed. I went out walking my dog. They spied on me walking my dog, and like, oh, look at him not performing his holy duty or something like that. And then they mock me and they took my powers away from me. It's very childish. It's exactly what happens in the Garden of Eden when like God steps out for a while. And he's like, oh, I've got to go do a thing or two. Don't fuck with my stuff while you're gone. I'll be back later on, and under my terms and conditions, you might have some of this. He leaves the garden, and the serpent says, oh, why didn't you exploit God while he's like out walking around? Poetically. And that's what's happening, this kind of situation, when someone gets control of the temple and then they are hunted upon and conquested upon, and they steal it. It's known as the beast, the son of the east, so the sun child. And it said in Revelations that the anti-prophet and the monsters and all this will take control of his soulry, take control of his name, take control of his mind. And they'll use that control to keep him dominated, to keep him crying in the wilderness alone, while they rape, plague, and dominate your entire world into perdition. No matter what, it's a burning bush, unless the Lord of the temple is the Lord of the temple. This is why you confess lordship of the temple to Jesus. Jesus saved the temple, and if it wasn't for that, it would have been chaos and feudality, and it's actually Armageddon, because it's feudality within the temple, it's war within the temple, where there's going to be some natural design of 14 families, and they're all fighting and grubbing and competing with each other, and it just leads to absolute competition towards perdition. And they're all stupidly competing with each other and fighting over it, and using people like Pokemon cards. Like, people are committing suicide, tormented, driven absolutely insane, and they don't care. They're competing for this Hassasin heaven, this privilege of sex and splendor in the tabernacle of the Lamb, and screwing all the attendants of his wedding supper. You're meant to preserve this family. That's exactly what it's about. You're meant to preserve them, the word, and then your world would be preserved, but you're not. You're destroying and you're tormenting it apart. And it's just, like I said, this equilibrium of all this destruction, all this pestilence, all this plague. They're taking my usurped and apocalyptic Babylonian temple, and they're spreading it in different countries. And you saw this inspector. You said, so all you're doing is spreading this Babylonian bushfire in countries, and you're offering them the care plan. You're stepping in and saying, oh, we know how to deal with it. We know how to control it. And then they practically take control of your country. They take control of your competence country. They'll be advisors to your country if they're not already taking governmental positions in your country. I imagine Donald Trump got bumped out of government because the Democratic Party are probably more related to the Starry Blue and all this starcraft and starfuckery. And they're like, oh, this is our opportunity. We need to take this opportunity now. We can't disclose the information onto the Republican Party, so they just pushed the Republican Party out just for opportunity's sake, and now they're also involved in this Babylonian bushcraft nonsense. So I'm just looking up all the destruction that's happening in your world in the meantime. It's been 7 years, right? You put Joseph in the well, basically. Joseph was selected and chosen. He stood out. He was given a mantle by his father, a special Krishna vegan hippie kid who was raised up under the scriptures. He was very kind, ultimately merciful, and very understanding. And you put him down a well because you're envious and you wanted to steal his jacket, and you put him in the well. He stayed there for 7 years, and a lot of people up on top of the world were very happy and very powerful and very affluent during these 7 years. But it was apocalyptic. You're going to reap what you sow. You're going to reap exactly what you sow, and after 7 years of reaping, they're going to start sowing famine and death. And Joseph is still in the well, and it was only because Joseph was in the well, or he got sold in slavery to Egypt, and they realised his potential there, and then they gave him an office. And because Joseph was just working under an office, just had some office, like, Uri Geller got like an office with the president of Mexico. All I need is just like some sort of office. Like, you think the Vatican would fucking help? My country are overrun with these like antichrists. They're in government, they're in the Gardaí, they're in these people that were in that saw me originally, that witnessed all this, were a bunch of Sinn Féin militia mafia. Turns out they're more than militia mafia, they're like government mafia. And they're connected with Gardaí and military and everything. And they're all convinced and working for Derek fucking Rockefeller, and they're working for the Americans and the runaway government of Ireland. And I can't get help. Anyone I talk to, they just turn against me. Everyone watching this, everyone I seek to get help with, priests, politicians, everyone I talk to, they just blab into their ear, he's insane, don't just ignore him. So it's very difficult for me to have maintained order of this temple when there's so many opportunist wankers out there. They're just, they get to whisper in the ears, like, you can exploit him at 3 o'clock. You can exploit him there. You can. Doesn't mean you have to. This is the opportunity of knowledge that was gifted. The divol, the taste of vinegar, the spoonful of vinegar that was given, say, to Adam and Eve. And like, you can do this. Doesn't mean you exactly need to or have to do this. And they did. They all went out and they all did it. They all opportunists and they all took advantage of me. The whole world and the actual universe, the stars above you are all collapsing, falling, just like I said it would in Revelations, all collapsing, falling. You're all falling into complete and utter perdition. These Swiss sadist rat Nazi bastards, Switzerland and America, are like the main people fucking doing this. Absolute fucking main people, Swiss rat fucking bankers. And yeah, and they're just driving and they won't let it go. They just won't let it go. So it's very simple. All right, all you just need to do is give me the office of Potiphar. I need a Potiphar just to come and say, hello, Mr. Cannon. Yeah, we didn't understand the situation. We think you have a very important position. We need you to do what it is you got to do. What they were educated on doing is exploiting me. So their education, like King David, this happened to King David. They were exploiting King David. They took his star. They made it the harem. This royal harem of King David. They're all screwing his children. This is where Solomon came from. Was taking his children and then making a temple that they invested into. But they wouldn't trust David and they wouldn't let him have the temple because it would just be all power and all temple towards David. And they just chased him and hunted him and tormented him around Ziph. And the world was falling into perdition when he was tormented and angry. Like, if I'm tormented, angry, and if I smack myself in the face, you get eruptions, you get explosions. If I'm screaming, and I never used to be screaming angry at all until year 7. You're going to get what you reap, what you sow. And we're into year 8. Now, this started 7 years ago. And it's been a nightmare, inexplicable. I'm not going to tell you the shit that's happened to me over these last 7 years. But you're going to start falling into this period now of point of no return. And that's why I'm making this fucking video and these other videos, because you need to fucking understand you are falling into a global, if not galactic fucking condition of perdition. Like, you're falling beyond a point of repair. And it's just all this damage, all this money you're spending on all these houses being destroyed and homes and families being ruined. Because my family's home was destroyed. You destroyed my family, you broke my home, you led me from a door, I starved in a ditch for 2 years on the side of the N11, being tormented and fucking persecuted, screaming and wrathing. I remember I said once, I'll burn the roofs of the churches in France with anger. And then 2 days later, Notre Dame burnt down. I scream and I just want absolute death and fucking destruction all over the face of the world now, and it's happening. So you need to cop the fuck on. It's not a big investment, right? Bob Dylan wasn't a big investment. They had big productions back in the day. It cost nothing to give Bob Dylan a microphone. Absolutely nothing. It was a folly to give Bob Dylan a microphone and just let him do it, let him rip. And it's going to cost absolutely fucking nothing for the office of Potiphar just to say, right, so let this little hippie kid teach, let him interpret Torah, and just let him be happy and fucking peaceful, and let him be happy and peaceful with his welcomed attendance of his, well, they keep calling it my funeral, but it probably is, it's my altar, my wedding supper. Death is a wedding. So it's not expensive compared to the amount of money you're spending on, tsunamis and earthquakes, and just look at Japan, for fuck's sake. I'm willing to work with anyone. Like, Potiphar was Egyptian, and I don't give a fuck who you are. We need to get this underway, and it's not an expensive exploit. It's not a complicated exploit. It's so simple. It's like too simple. But in the meantime, these antichrists have control of my temple, and they, like in these movies at the moment, I think reality is like a video game because they can control it, and some people have the power through my temple and my name in particularly to control it. They can just stop you from coming to help me. You'll be outside my house maybe coming to help me, and they will start using their potential for absolute knowledge to blackmail you, to terrorize you. They'll say they're going to kill your family and friends. They're going to do everything they can to prevent you from helping me. And you're like, why are we trying to help this guy again? I can't do it all on my own. It's the thing that John the Baptist was like, he needed somebody. He needed, he needed a few men. I need about like 12. These were knights of royalty. These were knights Templar. There's so many fucking Templars and knights and so many of you people out there in this world, Vaticans and priests and dioceses, and you just, what is the purpose of all you? What was the purpose of all the fucking Christian bread? What was the purpose of fucking everything? You were just going to let it all slip into fucking perdition for the sake of a bunch of fucking Swiss Rockefellers and their wanky fucking Sinn Féin militia just getting whatever the fuck they want and defiling and destroying heaven. Like, It doesn't cost much. It's a very simple situation. I can't make it any more explicit to the world. The more I make this shit explicit like Moses, the more you'll see pestilence, plague poured out and explicit to the people who are responsible. So the Vatican is destroyed lately because the Vatican was the most responsible for helping me. 7 years of this, and they just ignored me. I've been emailing me, screaming, begging, pleading with the fucking Pope, and I just get ignorance. Same with my government, same with fucking everything, because, you know, the Jebakim rule just got to them before it got to me. So I'm just going to say, you're all F-U-C-K. You're all fornicating under carnal knowledge, without consent of the king. Fornicating without consent of the king. I'm a celibate vegan Taoist, and like Frodo, like I would have maintained the power of the ring. I would be able to hold the fucking ring very clearly because I was celibate Taoist. I'm very peaceful. You see other men getting very tempted and very, turning and weren't able to carry the ring because Frodo was celibate. You know, Frodo didn't fall into the pool of the dead with the others. Like, he was like only when he was really, really weak, and I'm fucking really, 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 really weak these days. So yeah, I just can't make it any more clear to you. I don't put it in a bow, put it in a nutshell. I tried to explain the circumstances and the conditions in all these videos. You know, I made 3 really good videos as far as I'm concerned. Like, they're all watched. What's the story, kid? 316, bottom line. And there's fucking another one I can't remember. I am Israel. Isis Rael, and this happens a lot, and all those Isis Raels out there being conquested and on. It's a very hard thing for Jacob to be born, or Jacob to be achieved rather, back in the day of the desert and out of Egypt, and took a long hard time to get there. And in this modern day world, you see a lot more of Israel popping up all over the world. Einstein was Israel, Nietzsche was Israel. It's meant to be that way. Like, the dream of Walt Disney was to have Israel in every family, and you see this, and that dream is dead and gone now because all the shitty people in the world are conquesting and murdering all the starry people in the world, people who earn their stars, and they're just stealing them all from you. And, you know, I'm trying to teach them how to earn their own stars, but they don't listen. They just want to steal, they just want to take, and they just want to fucking, magpies just take from your fucking ovaries and take your stars, and just, you know, when you're working, okay, I'm just going to make this point. When you're working, you're out there earnestly and honestly working, you come true for names and titles. You're unaware of this, but it's like, you know, a heavenly angel, and he's like, oh, prudence, oh, excellent hard work, oh, honesty in the workplace, oh, very good. They take all those from you. You are like a bunch of fucking slaves working and harvesting, working and earning these titles. And the people that are in control just take them off you and put them on their own badge. And they say, we need to do that. We need to use you as a resource because we're in competition with all the other governments in the world. And they all have all these super names and titles, and we need to compete. So you're working for us, so we work for you. And it's bullshit. They're just harvesting and taking crap from you. And, you know, you're depleted, you're tormented, you're suicidal. They don't care. You know, you end up in a schizo ward. They own the schizo wards. They'll put you on medication that suits their fucking convenience and makes it easier for them to sodomize and steal you and rob from you. I don't know. Anyway, all I wanted to say in the beginning was a very mathematical, simple, like, equilibrium. All the money and effort you're going to put into, you know, you won't be able to fix the world without me. It's either perfection or perdition. And I can bring you back to perfection, and the ozone layer will reappear. Plastic in the water will work, believe it or not. Cancer will start to reduce. Chronology will turn back to normal. This happened around the time of Jesus. They thought it was a terrible thing. They lost the temple. Jesus became Lord, and there was no Babylon. Just like in Revelations, they stood far back into the normal, physical, cold world, and they're like, oh, what's life like without Babylon and all her delicacies, and all the fornication, and all the wonders and splendours that we knew in the psychic realm, Babylon. And like, what's the point of living? But then life became very good on earth. Flowers and music, and you could sing and you could dance, and world became heaven. It was kingdom on earth. And you've lost that again. It's either perfection or perdition, and they're greedily... It's like Highlander. There can only be one person in this temple. That's why you need to confess the lordship of the temple. And if it's not, it's just a burning bush, and it will remain a burning bush for a very, very long time. People will keep working and earning, trying to survive. The more you're earning, the more they're harvesting and taking your names and your ovaries and your understanding. Like, shitty people. These are horrible, urgent, knackery fucking monsters from Wexford and Limerick and all these. It's the shittest people in the world harvesting the better people in the world, and that's what conquest is. A time of revelations when you can see these things and it just appears to them, and there's no good lordship. And when there's good lordship, you won't be confused so much. You've got computers, you've got Crowbot and all at the moment organising your traffic as you drive down the road, because when you used to cross paths, people used to catch COVID because there was no lordship. All your fates and destinies were all getting mixed up, and it was eugenic. COVID was completely eugenic. You could get it by shaking hands, you could get it by cutting someone out on a lane by overtaking someone, you could catch COVID, and they just couldn't explain it. And there was no good lordship. There was no one overriding lord to keep everyone else under it peaceful and happy, and you're all getting mixed up and fucked up and confused and brain dead, and it's just going to rise into absolute destruction. Anyway, all this madness, all this terror, all this disorder, and it's just from one little Bob Dylan like project is just to fucking work with me. And you're not working with me, I'm still desperately preaching on YouTube here. You need to send someone around to my gaff and just say, hello, would you like to come with me? And I've got a radius. People come into my radius. They're sitting at the backfields right now, staring at my house, masturbating. They're all over. They bought houses in my estate. They all flocked from all over the world. I remember they will flock from all over the world to spy on me, stare at me, my family, and hunting my family and friends. I sound paranoid if I'm going to go report this, and I did sound paranoid when I tried to report this. And they're in the area. I need to be hidden off like somewhere in Vienna or the south of fucking France, and just protected. And it's not an expensive exploit when you consider the amount you're going to be spending on flood damage and destructions and volcanoes and earthquakes and suicide and social disintegration, and there's going to be so much. There's going to be Los Angeles. All the money you're going to spend on fixing and putting Los Angeles back together before you can put Humpty Dumpty back together. It's year 8, and I don't know if you're going to be able to save me, but you need to be seen working. You want to be found in that vineyard working on that day. You want to be working with me. I want to be, even if it is ultimately impossible, we need to be making that fucking effort to fix this and fix my temple and fix my fucking Ori. I'm not selfish. I don't like attention. I don't want attention seeking. I'd like to be a hermit. I'd like to be completely unknown and unpopular. This is against my will. I'm not looking for attention. I'm not looking for, some sort of career or anything. I'm very content in my little peaceful, hidden Taoist life. But you need to fucking do this, right? And that's the bottom fucking line. So yeah, weigh it up. Brazil, Japan, any country that's been Los Angeles. Weigh it up. How much is it going to be costing you to fix your streets, fix your government, fix your people? It'll only get worse. To fix climate change, I could fix all of the climate change problems. It would all stop, and I would all start settling back together. All of that crap. Like, people are just going into the momentum and the vector of perdition, and they're like, yeah, let's just drive it into the ground. Let's just keep doing it, and let's just keep fucking. We don't need to stop. And it's a complete and utter spirit of the Antichrist. I'm not happy, I'm not peaceful, I'm not Krishna anymore. I'm very angry, I'm very pissed off, and I'm very, very misanthropic at the moment. And it's not good. You don't want me like this. And if I do actually die, I don't know if that's actually possible, but it might come a time when I do die, that then you're going to have one very pissed off misanthropic lord over this world, and you're not going to have a benevolent, loving Krishna lord over this world like you did by Jesus. So yeah, add it up, weigh it up, and give me Bob Dylan microphone, a little gig, set it up, the office of Potiphar. You've had your warning. I swear to God, you've had your warning. It's into year 8, and in the next 7 years, it's going to be unfixable. The more we're drifting into this, the more unfixable it is. So, like, every day, every single meted, unholy, royal hour matters very much so. So it doesn't matter if you're a synth, a robot, antichrist, or anything. You have to see what's in interest for you and the future. I've already told you what's interest for you in the future in the video of John's Commandment. You won't survive. Like, bread won't sustain you. Bread will sustain you if you're producing, if you have cool cows in the meantime and you're building the Genco olive oil field. But bread won't sustain you. Just as Jesus basically said, I'm the bread of life. I will sustain you and give you the time to learn and the time to redeem yourself. It was the bread of the world. He gave you time, basically, to fix the world in 2,000 years of time. And it's all spoiled, and it's all completely in vain because you just went with the Antichrist. So it's all down the drain now. It's all completely and utterly poisoned. You spoiled the bread. Alright, so just get your finger out. Get into fucking Wicklow, Ireland. And I'm not going to give my exact address. I'll have every fucking gypsy showing up and probably with the Antichrist exploiting me like I've seen this video. But you can be Jesus. You can be Jesus if you just fucking save me. That's why this list was that I made about the Lion, Love the Lamb. All these people, any one of you could just come along and save me. Any one of you, president, politician, or someone just needs to be the fucking one. Because they won't listen to me. And even if it was like in Egypt, they had about 100 people marching on government, even saying that they might just lock us all up. But, yeah, you just save yourself, save the world, save the burning galaxies that are beyond you. Like, they destroy Oris all the time. Like, every day that I go through, they're murdering children in Miami. They're murdering children constantly in Miami. They don't stop. Like when I showed up, there was a lot more murder and torture and harm in the world. Like in Monsters Inc., they were torturing and scaring these kids. And when you realise the opposite power of working with me, you're going to see how much more beneficial it is to work with me and not terrorise, persecute, and torment me. Like I've overturned so much sadism and so much cruelty and so much offerings and all this shit that they were doing before, and just made them all look very stupid. And I've redesigned world religion about 2 or 3 times now. I'm told I'm due a good like over 10 Nobel Peace Prizes for the amount of work and suffering I've done, and other people are just claiming it and taking credits for my metaphysics, my understandings, and preaching it. And it's like Antichrist being very powerful and very affluent and very well respected with all my potential, all my understanding, and all my orreries and all my fucking efforts. So yeah, put it in the right place. Bob Dylan behind the microphone, doesn't cost much. Anyone, you know what I mean? China, Japan, Russia, any one of you, anyone just step in. I got a runaway government, they're not going to help. Runaway government of northern fucking Nazi degenerate rebel rousing gits. They don't know what they're dealing with at all. They can't really fucking help disenfranchised. So be Jesus and save John.